Hello, this is Mrs. Robertson, and we are going to be doing the Unit 1 Math Test Review. We have our test tomorrow. On your paper, write down your name. Recording is taking place in second period. The test is tomorrow, Friday, September 9th. Question 1 says, draw a dot plot for the following spelling test. The first thing you're going to do on your test is write the title of the graph. What are these numbers representing? Spelling test scores. So write down spelling test scores. Write that down. Dot plot. Dot plot is one of those things where you put dots or X's above numbers on a line. Well, we got to create one. Well, our lowest spelling score is 90 and your highest is 100. So we're going to make marks from 90 to 100 right now. We're going to start with 90 and go all the way up to 100. So there's 90, 91, 92, and you're going to go all the way up, as I said earlier, to 100. Now we're going to put dots above the numbers. That's how we get the word dot plot. There's a 100, so put a dot above a 100. I draw a line through it so I know I've taken care of that one. Another 100, another dot. 95, put a dot above that one. 90, 92, 93, another 93. You put the dot above it. 90, 94, another 90, and 97. On your test, you get a point for each dot. How many dots did we put on this dot plot? Well, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Make sure you have 11 dots. Each dot is worth 1 point. This is the easiest part of the test, kids. So really, it's important for you not to mess this up. It's very important. It's very easy to get all of those right. This is a typing error. We don't need to put the title down again, so just draw a line through that. Now we have to find our maximum score, the minimum, and the range. So let's do that next. What's the maximum score that you could get? Yes. Charlie. 100. What is the minimum score that you could get on this? Yes. 90. Then to find the range, it's 100 minus the minimum, 90, and that gives you the answer of 10. So the range is 10. Any questions? Now we have to do mode and mean. Mode is the number that occurs what? Most. Very good, class. Mode, most. Which number occurred the most? Which scored, Jerry? Which one has the most dots? 90, yes. All right, the mean. The mean, it's sort of mean to make you have to do this, but you have to add all the numbers up together. Kids, when you add all of the scores, the sum of all of these numbers, it's going to be 1,034. Okay, does everyone, when I add all of those up, I get 1,034. Now, what do you do to get the mean? Is the mean 1,034? What do I do next, Sophia?
No. You have to divide it by how many numbers there are.
Right, and how many numbers or dots did we say there were? Right, so over here we're going to show division. Kids, if you added wrong and had 1,033 but you divide by 11 like you're supposed to, I'll still give you partial points on the test. So make sure you show work so I can give you partial credit, okay? Now, how many 11s will go into that? Well, 11, no 11s in a 1, no 11s in a 10. There are 9 11s in 103. That's 99. Subtract. Bring down. How many 11s are in a 44? Jerry? 4. Yeah, pretty easy. So, our mean is 94. Any questions? All right, it is hard to do. If I made you add those, it takes a long time to add them up. Just be careful. Hopefully on your test tomorrow when you have to find the mean, there won't be that many numbers. Now let's go to question number 2. Students in Mr. Williams' Saturday art class are 15, 19, 47, 14, 15, 19, and 11 years old. Find the median. Kids, the median is the middle number, right? What do I have to do to find the middle number? What's the first thing I have to do to find my middle number? Halo? Right, we put them in order from smallest to largest. So 11 is the smallest. Then you have 14, 2 15s, 2 19s, and the oldest person is 47. All right, so now we're going to find our middle number. 1 hop, 2 hops, 3 hops. Oh, it's nice. We have one middle number, so the median is 15. Any questions on how you find your median? I'm waiting for everyone to write this down and circle it. We have at least one person who hasn't written this down. We're waiting on you. Yeah, let's get it written down. While we're waiting on him, class, we have to do the mean, and to do the mean we have to add all those numbers together. I'm going to add them over here, so let's just go over here. We have room. We have to do 15, 19, 47, 14, 15, 19, and 11. We have to add them all together. It's easy to even write them down wrong. It's easy to make that mistake. So I'm going to add them together. When I add them together, that was a 4 that I carried. Did you all get 140? Now, what do I do with the 140 to get the mean? What do I have to do after I get the 140? Yes, Sophia?
Divide by how many numbers you have.
Yes, and how many numbers did we add together?
7.
Right. So for the mean, I'm going to have 140 divided by 7. 7 goes into 1 no times. 7 will go into 14 twice. Now, is my mean going to be 2? No, I got to bring down it will be 20. So the mean is 20. All right, now I have a question for you. Can anyone tell me what you call 47? It has a special name. What is it? Yes.
Outside.
Not outside, it's an out. Yes.
Out, yeah.
And what?
Outsider.
Not an outsider. Yes.
Outlier.
It's an outlier. Okay, I like how you were paying attention. It's called an outlier. Now, when you have an outlier, do you use your median or the mean? When there's an outlier, which one do you use, the median or the mean? Yes. The median, very good. So which is better represents the student ages? The median. Why? Because we have an outlier. The median. Because we have an outlier. Now an outlier can be much larger or it could be much smaller. We have an outlier. I'm glad you kids remembered that. Yes?
Isn't 47 also prime?
Yes, it is. It is a prime number. Yeah, a lot of things there about that one. Everybody ready to go on to number 3? You're doing a nice job. Number 3. Which questions below are statistical? Now remember, statistical questions are questions that have multiple answers. What is the average low temperature for the month of October in Saline? Average low, that means there could be several different ones. It's a statistical question, okay? Even for that place, it could depend on, in that city or country, where you are in the city standing or something. How many pets do the 6th graders in your school have? Is that statistical or not statistical? Does every 6th grader have the same number of pets? No, it's going to be statistical. That one is one that's circled. It has more than one answer. You're going to have more than one answer for that one. There are just a few of you that might not be focusing, and you're going to be disappointed whenever you take your test tomorrow. What shoe size are you? That's one answer. It's not statistical. That's exactly one answer. Maybe two if you're between an 8 and 8.5. Depends on if it's a Nike or an Adidas. But this is an exact answer there. That's what they mean. And how many countries are there in South America? That's an exact answer, so that's not statistical. Now let's go to letter B. Explain how you know one of the questions you circled is statistical. It has multiple answers. All right. Is everyone done with the front page? Okay, let's turn the page and go on to the back side. This is another one, very easy. You get 1 point for each one that you label correctly. I hope that you end up getting all of your points in this section. So, letter A, -1 and 3/4. It's between -1 and -2. Is it going to be closer to the -2 or closer to the -1? Yes.
Closer to the -2.
It will be closer to the -2 because 3/4. Put a dot and label it A. You have to put the letter above the dot, okay? 4 and 1, 6. That's a +4. Go past the 4. And it's just a little bit past the 4. 1, 6 is closer to the 4 than it is to the 5. Put your dot and label it B. Any questions? Oh, no one should miss letter C. Put a dot on 0. I told you this part's really easy. 4/5. That is located between the 0 and the 1. Will the dot be closer to 0 or closer to 1? Halo? Closer to the 1. -3, put a dot on the -3, and the letter E will go above that one. Then we are ready to go to the next problem. On our next problem, F, 3 and 2/3. Okay, is it going to be closer to the 3 or closer to the 4? Yes, the 4. Very good. And that is letter F. G, -2/3. It's left of 0. It's in between 0 and -1. It'll be closer to the -1. 1/3 would have been closer to the 0, but 2/3 is closer to -1. Put letter G. What's the opposite of 2.5? What's the opposite of 2.5, Charlie? -2.5. So above -2.5, or yeah, put a dot, and above that dot put the letter H. The opposite of 2.5 is -2.5. You plot that one. What's the opposite of -1? Yes. +1. Put a dot on the 1 and label it I. Any questions on doing those points? Okay, the next section, we just learned about this yesterday, but I think you're all going to do a nice job on this part of the test. You're going to plot points on a coordinate grid. Let's just review the parts of a grid. This is quadrant 1. Remember how we used Roman numerals? 1. This is quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. It's an IV for the Roman numeral 4. Okay? This is the x-axis, that is the y-axis, and their intersection point is the origin. Now, it says plot and label the following points on the grid. In an ordered pair, the first number tells you to go this way, and the second number tells you to go up or down. Remember, you have to walk to the elevator and go in it before you can go up and down. If it's positive, you go right, and if it's positive, you go up. So on this one, you start at the origin. You're going to go right 5, positive 5, up 2 to positive 2. You put a dot, and that's letter A. Notice that the numbers to the right are positive, and the numbers going up are positive, right? The numbers going left are negative, and the numbers going down are negative. You see that? All right. Now let's do the next one. It's a little harder. B. Start at the origin. You're going to go left 1 1/2. Left 1 and then a half. It's in between -1 and -2. Positive 3 1/2. That means you're going to go up 3 1/2. 1, 2, 3 1/2. You're going to be in the middle of that box. Do you see that box right there? You're going to be in the middle of that box. Let me help you out there. There's that box, and that is label point B. Any questions? The next one is -2, -2. Start at the origin. Go left 2, down 2, put your dot, and that's letter C. So just remember, when you have the first one's negative, you go left. If the second one's negative, you go down. Let's go to point D. In point D, you're going to go left 4 1/2 and down 3. Start at the origin. Go left 4 1/2. It's in between -4 and -5. Down -3. 1, 2, 3. Put a dot, and that's letter D. Any questions? Everyone doing okay? You're very good listeners. Okay, let's go on. It says plot a point in the quadrant that is not already plotted. Well, we have something in 1, something in 2. We have 2 in quadrant 3, so we need to plot a point in quadrant 4. Kids, you can do one anywhere you want to. I'm going to put mine right here. And I'm going to label it E. Now I have to say, how do I get to point E? Well, it's right 7, down 2. So it's 7, -2. So my point is 7, -2. Kids, I'll be honest. Your first one's going to be positive and your second one will be negative. And if you do that, it'll end up in this quadrant. Okay? Does everyone have their point plotted that they wanted to for E? Very nice. Eli, am I going at a good pace today? All right. Now let's do 6, 7, 8, and 9. True, false. These sometimes can be a little tricky. It says, every rational number is a counting number. Is that true or false? Let's see. Every rational, no, that is false. Now, every counting number is a rational number, but rational numbers include fractions and decimals. Rational numbers are fractions and decimals. Counting numbers are just 1, 2, they're just numbers without fractions and decimals, okay? So that is false. Now, if they said, are all counting numbers rational numbers, that would be true. But they didn't say that. A negative number is always less than a positive number. Is that true or false? True. Yeah. Negative numbers are always going to be less than positive numbers. Okay. on this problem, okay, -4 and -5. Now, I've drawn it on a number line just to make sure you know what the answer is. Is -4 greater than -5? It is, isn't it? That's true. Why? Just think about, is 1 greater than 0? Yeah, it's the number on the right is always bigger than the number that you're comparing it to on the left. So -4 is bigger than a -5. All right? Draw a number line to make sure you see it. The number on the right is always the bigger number. Number 9. There is a rational number between 1/4 and 3/4. Why, of course there's a rational number between 1/4 and 3/4. It's 2/4, right? There is, why that's true, there is a rational number. Yeah, you could even throw in 1/3. 1/3 is in between 1/4 and 3/4. So, oh yeah, there are a lot of answers for that. Any other questions on this page? Let's go to the next page, class. Oh, some more, we have to put them in order. I'm going to give you a few hints here. So you look at these, and the first thing you do, compare it to 0 or 1. Okay? So, is 8/9 closer to 0 or closer to 1? 1. 6/12 is in the middle. Do you know what will 6/12 equal? Yes. It's 1/2. 4/3, is that closer to 0 or 1? 1. In fact, it's bigger than 1. It's 1 and 1/3, isn't it? 1/5, is 1/5 closer to 0 or 1? Yeah, 0. 6/8, is that closer to 1 or 0? 1. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to put them in order. This one is my smallest, 1/5. 1/2 is my next to the smallest, so that's 6/12. Now, we know this one's the biggest. 4/3 is the biggest. Now I have two more numbers I have to decide. 8/9 and 6/8. 8/9 and 6/8. Well, I'm going to find my common denominator between these two because they're pretty close. Between a 9 and an 8, your common denominator is 72. 9 times 8 is 72. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 9 is 72. 6 times 9 is 54. So now it's easy. 6/8 is smaller. 8/9 is bigger. So it's going to be 6/8 and 8/9. All right? Any questions? It says, Stevie says there are no numbers between 1/2 and 1/6. Why might he think that? Well, maybe he wasn't very smart. No. Maybe he didn't pay attention on the day Mrs. Robertson was talking about that. Maybe he wasn't here on the day we did our fraction bars. Maybe he was sitting by someone that was talking and he couldn't pay attention. We're not going to worry about that part. But this is what I want you to think. This part, why might he think that? We're not going to worry about it. What would you tell him? Now let's find out how smart you are. Well, I would say there are numbers between 1/2 and 1/6, kids. So let's write that down. What are you going to tell him? Stevie, there are numbers between 1/2 and 1/6. And then kids, just give examples and you get all your points. What are some examples? Well, what about 1/3? Examples, we could have 1/3, 2/6. You could have 1/4. 1/4 is bigger than 1/6 and smaller than a half. 1/5. 1/5 is bigger than a 6. So just list a few examples, okay? Any questions on that? All right, now let's go to the next problem about Frankie. Frankie gave his parents this graph based on the amount of time he was spending doing chores. Based on this graph, they, being his parents, thought he had doubled his time doing chores. They glanced, it's like, oh my goodness, look at how hard our kid is working. He's gone from this to this. Did he really double the amount of time? No, he did not. No, he did not. Why? Well, what does did the graph start at 0? No, the graph starts where? The graph starts at 3 o'clock. Three doubled is what? 3 doubled is 6. It stopped at 4, didn't it? The graph stopped at 4. You don't have to draw the little happy face, but you were doing such a good job. So when you look at the graphs, just be careful, all right? Once you guys settle down, you are just such a good class. Sometimes, though, I just have to remind you how to behave, but you are doing a lovely job. All right, period 2. Let's go to the next page. Are we ready? Wonderful. It says, use the histogram. All right. I don't like this histogram because the intervals are a little bit messed up. But let's just go ahead. It says, write one statistical question you could answer based on the information in the graph. Well, hours per week spent on homework. A typical student spends how many hours doing homework? You might put a typical student or average student up there. I'll get my T. A typical student spends how many hours doing homework? And end with a question mark. Any questions? List one statistical question you cannot answer based on the graph. Huh? How many hours do students spend outside? Could we answer that question looking at the graph? No. So it's something that's not on the graph. So how many hours do students spend outside? Do students spend outside? I should say, how many hours does the average student, does the average or typical student spend outside? Then I would just have one student to keep my grammar correct. All right, any questions? Got this all written down, Charlie? Good. Let's go on to the next part. Draw a line approximately where you think the mean is on the graph. That would be about right here. It's in the middle. I have a few more questions to answer, kids. Quickly, for the last part of the worksheet, let's see, I need to pause this. All right.
Good morning, Kitley Flashes.
Very disappointed. We're going to start with letter C. And letter C says draw a line approximately where you think the mean is on the graph. So the mean is the average, think about where is the average going to be on the graph. It's probably going to be about right here is where the mean would be. That's about in the middle. Maybe a little more over here on this side, but you draw a line where you think that the mean is, okay? That's what you're going to do. Now we're going to go on to question number 13. In 13 it says, a table below shows the heights of great basketball players in order from tallest to shortest. Use the data to make a histogram. There is a problem with this because the intervals are not done correctly. So let's fix it at this time. This will include heights of 65 to 69. Write that down. This one will go from 70 to 74. The next one will go 75 to 79. All right. So here we are going to look at this information. We stopped with our interval. This will go from 80 to 84, 85 to 89, and there's no one that's 90 inches tall. Let's now go to these questions. What is the title of the graph? Heights of greatest basketball players. Write that down. I'm just going to put heights of basketball players. What is the unit on the x-axis? Now the x-axis is this one here, and it is inches. All right, this is the x-axis, and it is height in inches. It's height, but the unit is in inches. Now the other one, what is the unit of the y-axis? It's players. This is the y-axis, and it's number of players. I'm just going to write players. So the y-axis is players. The x-axis was height in inches. Now we're going to the last three problems on the practice test. For the following questions, record whether you can determine the answer based on the graph. If you can, write the answer. How many players are included in the graph? Oh, we got to graph this first. We've got the intervals, now we have to graph it. How many players are 65 to 69 inches tall? Well, on this, we just have one. One player was 69 inches tall. How many players are 70 to 74? 1, 2, 3. This will go up to 3. That's in between 2 and 4. How many players are 75 to 79? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go up to the 7. How many players 80 to 84? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
I think that's 16.
Yeah, we have some students in this class. This is my 4th period class. We have some issues with students making noise. The first part of this recording was recorded in my 2nd period class, and they made good choices and had very good behavior. This class, we've had some issues, a little disappointed. 85 to 89, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there you have your histogram for that problem. The next part is the E, F, and G. In questions E, F, and G, it asks, looking at this graph here, it says, How many players are included on the graph? If you look at the histogram and you don't look at this, you can still figure out how many players there are included. Can you do that one? Yes. And it would be 1 plus 3 plus 7 plus 15 plus 7. And that will give you an answer of 33. Players. How many heights are below 75 inches? Well, you could do that one. That is going to be 3 plus 1, which is 4. How many heights are exactly 81? If you are only looking at the histogram, you cannot answer that one, can you? If you looked at this, you can, but here they wanted you to look at the graph. The graph is the histogram. We cannot answer it. Just leave it as a question mark. When you look at the histogram, you don't know exactly how many are 81 inches tall because it's an interval. You can tell you how many are 80 to 84, but not exactly 81 in this graph. Now, if you could look at the data box, you can tell exactly, but not in the histogram. All right, so please make sure you study this tonight, and you will do a good job on the test tomorrow. Have a good day.